You know, being thin online is a real privilege. If you're fat online and you make over-consuming brightly colored food your livelihood,
criminy crickets,
you can expect to be labeled a lolcow at some point in your career. And the thing is, these content creators aren't simply lolcows for being morbidly overweight and partaking in the popular niche of mukbanging. No, they're called lolcows because of some of the horrible things that they've done, because of their antics, their mannerisms, and eccentricities, all in pursuit of garnering engagement at all and any cost. They are both amusements and warning signs to viewers. We watch them because it reassures us that even though our lives may not be as easy as theirs appear to be, at least we have our dignity. And at least hundreds of thousands of people in the virtual world don't hate us. Well, it seems one former lolcow has exposed the true artistry that goes into the theatrical craft of lolcowery. Nikocado Avocado has officially gotten my Streamies Award vote for Creator of the Year, if I knew or cared how to vote. And he has truly pulled off something never before seen in YouTube, let alone human obesity-related history. A brief history of Nikocado Avocado. Nicholas Perry is a viral YouTuber whose content evolved from clean-eating, avocado-loving, vegan mukbanger to rage-baiting, Takis and Cheetos-obsessed waterweight lolcow.
Scrum-diddly-umptious.
And his content, like most lolcow's content, can be represented as a kind of cycle. The Nikocado Avocado content cycle basically revolved around fake breakups with his longtime husband Orlin, who features dramatically snogging or crying with Nick in at least 150 thumbnails, wailing in front of spicy takeout dishes or noodles about how fat and depressed he is because of his exorbitant weight gain.
I keep pooping on my mattress, I keep pooping on my sheets, I keep getting on my fumbles and I even know what's neat.
Or trying to stir up drama with larger content creators or fellow lolcows. One thing that was noticeable was that whenever the cycle climaxed and views dwindled to just over 1 million or a little lower, which for Nikocado Avocado was considered low views, he'd either break up with Orlin in a more dramatic way than the last, declare that he was going to change his life for the good to reignite interest in his subsequent uploads, or get into an electric cart at a Target. But apparently, the Nikocado Avocado cycle only applies to content uploaded pre-February 2022. During February of 2022, he uploaded a video to one of his many side channels titled 2 Steps Ahead, in which he informed us that this
Be quiet, you toad.
is the greatest social experiment of his life. A few days ago, he uploaded a video that has amassed over 40 million views with the exact same title and monologue, except he had lost an astronomical, incredible, and life-altering 250 pounds of weight. Now we knew why he was quite literally 2 steps ahead, pre-recording content for 2 years while shedding the pounds that had garnered him millions upon millions of rage-baited views and engagement. Now all I can really say is, Senor Teno Piedade, thanks to the very kind sponsor of today's video and friend of the channel, Babbel. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world. And in fact, it's so good, I've gotten my MPC invested.
De nada.
Muito prazer.
Muito prazer.
The Babbel app offers you such a great opportunity to pick up a new language, especially as we become more multicultural and more globalized. Communication is more important than ever. And Babbel's really showed me how learning is not just a lifelong thing. It can also be really fully accessible and fun. There are 14 languages to tickle your fancy, all of which have been curated by over 650 language experts. And Babbel is scientifically proven to have you speaking a new language in 3 weeks. I can personally attest to this. I've been learning Portuguese with Babbel for quite some time now, and I really love how customizable the expertly crafted lessons are.
Casamento marcado.
Este de casamento marcado.
De nada. Que bom que você gostou.
De nada, que bom que você gostou.
I'm all about learning something new, and it is one of my all-time dreams to go to Brazil. So being able to keep that dream alive and having something to strive toward in relation to that dream is honestly amazing motivation. And so I've really customized my Babbel for that purpose in mind. And you can do exactly the same thing. Babbel is perfect for anyone like me who wants to just connect with a different culture, whether you want it for self-improvement, for professional reasons, or to advance your career. I've actually really enjoyed that my lessons aren't just about learning Portuguese, but are actually geared toward learning about Brazilian culture. I'll get cultural facts that pop up on the side of the screen about Brazil or whichever language you are learning, which really creates a fully immersive experience. And you know what? We are getting into autumn. It's a change of season and a perfect time to get cozy on the sofa with a new language learning adventure right at your fingertips. As I said, in as little as 3 weeks, you can start having full conversations and revising vocab to your heart's delight. And you can easily start your language learning journey this autumn by clicking on my link down below or using my unique QR code on screen right now to get an incredible 60% off your Babbel subscription. And honestly, I could not recommend this deal more. I would not imagine that I would be able to actually form sentences in Portuguese, let alone actually be able to really envisage being able to go to Brazil one day. Honestly, I still can't believe it, but I am thriving towards it. I'm striving towards it. I'm striving towards it and thriving at the same time. There we go. Fix that. And do let me know what language you would like to learn and why. I really like reading your comments about this. It's fascinating to see where people come from and clicking on your profile pictures and seeing your names and your profiles and everything, and you telling me that you want to learn French and why. So please do share that with me. Thank you so much to Babbel for sponsoring this video, and thank you to all of you for supporting Babbel and for supporting this channel, which gives me opportunities like this. I cannot thank you enough. And now let's get back to the video. So according to Nick, the reason for him posting his odyssey from fat to sickly Trixie Mattel was to expose how similar his overconsumption of food was to our overconsumption of internet content. Whilst he can clearly control his overconsumption of food, we will always be enslaved by our desire to form narratives, our desire to witness downfalls and depravity. According to him, he was in control the whole time. And this was to expose you, the viewer, the mindless bored peasant that you are, as being the ultimate gullible hypocrite and addict that you for years accused him of being. He was only the villain because he importantly chose to make himself one.
So I am the villain because I've made myself one.
Unlike him, we really didn't choose to be the fools. We just are the fools. And you know what? I really couldn't agree with him more. But forgive me if I just don't buy it, at least not in its entirety. There's something not just menacing, but a bit unnerving about his video. And this really comes across in quite a lot of his content. His overt reference to YouTuber Stephanie Sue and his more than questionable treatment of her 4 years ago by wearing the same panda mask that her husband wears in their videos shows that the man knows how to hold a grudge. I came back to the Stephanie Sue Nikocado Avocado drama to announce Nicocado's weight loss revenge against Stephanie Sue. He won. And this comment, and many like it, conflating his weight loss with revenge on various commentary channels and YouTubers that he's had beef with over the years, is indicative of what I think most of this is actually about. Firstly, fat people online aren't taken seriously, and Nikocado Avocado knows this all too well. In fact, playing into this was the entirety of his character. And even when he wasn't necessarily or wholeheartedly in the wrong when it came to the various controversies and dramas that he was in, even when he brought receipts and made relatively good arguments, nobody really cared.
I eat 2 cheeseburgers as an overweight person. Wow, you're d***ing. Matt Stoney eats 50 cheeseburgers. Awesome! Pick out one of the other hundreds of other channels that eat every single day like I do that are skinny. Where's your preaching for them? Where's your video about their choices and their harmful behaviors? Where is it? If it really has nothing to do with weight, then we should be able to see at least a handful, if this is so near and dear to your heart. Has nothing to do with weight. There's so many food competition people. Raina Hong, what's the girl, Shelby, they eat every single day, every other single day, and they're thin. There's so many people out there that eat 5 times more than I do. But you know, he used Matt Stoney as an example. Fran posted twice a day for 3 years straight, and she's this big. Love you, Fran. But hey, it's this double standard here.
If you're going to take sides, you would much rather take this side than this side. Nikocado most definitely remembers his perceived mistreatments. In many of his earlier sob-story crying videos, you'll often hear him referring to being bullied as a child, to him constantly losing friends, to him being very much aware that larger content creators were making content about him, and him necessarily having to always respond to it. Now, what I'm about to say is purely my analytical opinion, so take from it what you will. Going through his catalogue of trying to stir up drama with the likes of Trisha Paytas, PewDiePie, or fellow questionable mukbangers like Veronica Wang or Stephanie Su, it is clear that Nikocado has a complex, a need to compare himself to others, which may, I assume, stem from a sense of inadequacy, a desire to always be relevant. His catalogue seems to show somebody who initially became a villain for his takes on veganism, who became a villain because of his emotional and negative interactions with YouTubers who had a far more loyal following than he did. And I must say that it is very clear in his earlier content that he really didn't like being the villain. He was clearly and initially very hurt by this, and he therefore seems to have decided to cope with the hate by owning it, before deciding, at least apparently 2 years ago, to one of those who hated him and his villainy in the first place. It feels like he so desperately wants to be the villain in order to convince himself, more so than the rest of us, that he's never been a victim or never felt anything from the hate he's received over the years. Whether it be a victim of childhood bullying, for being gay, for leaving the vegan community, for gaining weight in his immediate post-vegan years, or simply a victim of cancellation and infamy, there's something too perfectly cinematic and theatrical about this social experiment that doesn't correspond to the entirety of the Nikocado Avocado story.
The joke's on you.
If it feels like everybody hates you when all you've ever wanted was to be loved and recognized for your positive talents and attributes, surely in our post-truth virtual world it ought to be possible to rewrite your story, to feign total control over narratives that felt like a very bad dream.
It was a long 8 years, wasn't it? It was a long 8 years. And I didn't think that it would have gone this long, but it did. And it was like a bad dream that, yeah, it was like a really bad dream that we were waiting for it to be over. And it's over. It was just a dream.
And while we're at it, let's turn all of our rage-baited trauma into some social experiment about awakening. And so I pose this question. Are you really in control when not food, but an over-consuming desire to be relevant and not boring is your master? Are you really in control when the very people you despise and refer to as ants are key to your relevancy? This is a perfect example of who needs more for self-identification, the master or the slave. And I can't help but wonder, what is coming next? Aside from Orlin probably revealing his own weight loss in the near future. Because it feels like we are perfectly positioned to go back to the beginning of the Nikocado Avocado cycle. The point in which after this extraordinary high, the views will dwindle, at least compared to what Nick likes. It is noteworthy that when Nick was thin and healthier, his views looked like this. Whereas his 2-year performance as a train wreck has probably paid for his luxury retirement plan 10 times over. I doubt that there will be another social experiment quite like this one, but I also do hazard that there's probably going to be a lot more scrutiny into how Nikocado Avocado actually lost the weight. And the fact that Nick has decided not to divulge how he lost the weight in the numerous interviews that he has given over the past few days means that the soil is fertile not just for conspiracy, but scrutiny and I think a lot of criticism. As with the whole Gypsy Rose Blanchard saga, the internet is frothing at the mouth to turn against its heroes, and I think it's only a matter of time. If anything, Nikocado's social experiment is a sad reflection on the state of meritocracy and what society sees as worthy of reward. The fact that fake crying, pooping,
I pooped again,
and binging 10,000 calories worth of Cheeto-flavored noodles on the internet can make you a multi-millionaire and a genius in the eyes of millions. But being a talented violinist who has cultivated and honed in their craft and vocation for years has never, not once, resulted in Nick being called a genius or garnering respect is quite depressing. This experiment has really shown that low-quality, rage-baiting content content is in demand. That masquerading every negative stereotype of fatness to prove your haters and critics wrong, to go viral and to own your own villainy is something to seemingly be applauded for.
I am getting fat, and I don't know why. Look at this belly. Look at my rolls. Ouch! I sprained my back!
And don't get me wrong, I most definitely applaud the weight loss, but conflating that with everything that it is being conflated with, I don't think that's worthy of even a handful of applause. And I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. Hate me if you must. But I think a lot of the people who are calling Nikocado Avocado a genius are just trying to save face. I can imagine the exact same response happening if, say, Amberlynn Reid revealed that she had been pre-recording her sporadic vlogs for the past 2 years and had now become Thin Berlin. The reason being, we don't expect morbidly obese people to ever lose the weight, healthily or naturally, if at all. Fat people online are usually there to be laughed at, to be spectacles of amusement. And there's no denying that a substantial part of their infamy has to do with how big they are, and they sort of delight in knowing that we aren't as big and therefore as embarrassing as they are.
Dang.
Yeah, I've got neighbors. Nikocado played into every one of these stereotypes, and based on the views, we definitely demanded it. And based on supply and demand, we are not just demanding, but are rewarding mediocrity. And I say this because of one thing that I have noticed, and that makes me quite sad about this whole thing. The vast majority of morbidly obese people eating themselves to aren't able to monetize it, let alone monetize it to such heights of success as to be able to spend 2 years committed to shedding the pounds. And the thin, skinny, slim privilege in all of this is oh too real. Longtime Nikocado Avocado collaborator and friend Hungry Fat Chick would typically get comments saying that their friendship wasn't real, that it was based purely on food, and that both Nikocado and Candy, that is Hungry Fat Chick, were killing each other for money and views. However, on their latest collaboration, the comments are decidedly different in tone, even though the two friends acknowledge quite openly and brazenly that they are just binge eating for money and abundance.
Let's do green because I want a money year.
A money year. We like money.
Yes.
Money,
Let's have
money.
some abundance. Thank you to the universe.
We love money.
Money, 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 money. It's always good. Yeah, you never know with these people.
Well, we're trying to get money, so let's not demonetize this video by singing happy birthday.
People in the comments were quite literally applauding him for indirectly helping Hungry Fat Chick by, quote, virtuing drinking water. Suddenly, because he's thin, their friendship is real, and he is a true friend because he is giving her clout and is binging takeouts with her. This woman, albeit she is a sweet and lovely woman, has gone through so many recent health scares, and she is binging steak with a pound of butter on it. Is Nick helping her by virtuing eating half a stick of butter on a steak as well? All this to say, I don't see this as a social experiment nearly in as much as I see this in Nikocado's own experiment in his own personal vindication. A means for the lolcow to expose the hypocrisy of and laugh in the face of his critics. Remember, you applauding his weight loss makes you no less of a peasant or an ant in his eyes. The peasants clearly love it when Nick is crying, when Nick is over-consuming.
And I look like a big fat piece of shit. I'm tired of looking like this.
When Nick is portraying himself as being in a toxic, dysfunctional relationship with a husband who can't get hard because of his fat, buttery body.
So he's less attracted to me because I'm fat.
And as history and the Nikocado Avocado cycle shows, I doubt the peasants are going to be as invested in skinny, soft-spoken, and self-controlled Nick for very long. Or at least for as long. The thing is, Nikocado Avocado's views weren't in the least bit bad if we go back to his humbler, quainter beginnings. He was making a good living, a far better living than most people, even within the mukbang community. So clearly, he was chasing something else. And I don't think that something else is going to be quenched by money. He may be 2 steps ahead of us, but he most definitely isn't 2 steps ahead of his own susceptibility to his own greed. His own belief that to be boring and irrelevant is a fate worse than death.
Yet just yesterday, people were calling me fat and sick and boring and irrelevant. People.
In this regard, and contrary to what we all believed up until a few days ago, food may not be his master, but something else most definitely is. But let me know what you think. Are you applauding Nick? And why are you applauding Nick? Do you think that this was a social experiment for a long time in the making? Or do you think that this is more so a narrative that Nick may have created around just seemingly and simply wanting to lose weight? Do you think that pre-recording mediocre content as a multi-millionaire for 2 years is a lot of work and very difficult, or not? Thank you so very much for watching this video, and thank you also to Babbel for sponsoring this video, and I'll see all of you very, very soon in the next one.